Hi, Misha here, and I have another helicopter for you. In fact, it's nearly the only one of its type. This is the Russian MIL MI-8MT, also known as the MI-17 HIP-H. And this is kind of a unique one because it's really the only Russian helicopter in the higher end of diecast 1/72 scale models. As I've said in other videos, helicopters aren't the most common anyway in this hobby. And thanks to Corgi, we have a number of British ones. There aren't that many Americans, mostly there are the Apaches and the Huey. But for Russia, this is pretty much it. This model is from Witty, meaning it's really no longer in production, but JC Wings, and I think maybe Gemini also, but JC for sure is doing it, at least a version of this. The only other Russian helicopters in this scale are kind of from the more economy brands like Altea, maybe Atlas, and these are not, I mean, they're fine for what they cost, $20, but they don't, yeah. And I'm sure most of you would really like to see an MI-24 Hind, but no one seems to do a Hind at all, not even in the cheap brand. So this is what we have. So what is this bird here? And then we're going to talk about this model. Is it actually has a few kind of neat features. Well, the HIP was, or should I say, is a medium lift transport helicopter that can also double as a gunship, although actually it's more of a rocket or missile ship, but you get the idea. Originally, the first version, the MI-8, was tested in 1961. It went into Russian service in 1967, and they made about 17,000 total of those. It was kind of like the Russian Huey. It could be outfitted for combat or, transport duties. But then in 1975, the MI-8M first was tested, and essentially it was an uprated MI-8. It had a more powerful engine. The body was more or less the same, but it was redesigned to let it carry a little more. It was a little more compatible with updated armaments. And this would go into Soviet Army service as the MI-8MT in 1977. And then in 1981, they would introduce the MI-17, which was essentially the same exact helicopter, but designed for the export market. And it actually was exported a lot. One of the first buyers was in 1983, and it was the Cuban Army. But since that time, dozens upon dozens of militaries have purchased the MI-17. It's also made under license in China. And even the U.S. military itself ended up with several of these, which they have essentially re-gifted to other nations like Pakistan. So what do we have here? Well, it's a relatively large chopper. It's about 60.5 feet long. Well, the original is. This is like 10 inches long, but yeah. The rotor diameter is a bit over 21 feet. It has a max speed of just under 175 miles per hour and a cruise speed of just over 160. Its maximum altitude is just under 20,000 feet. Has a crew of 3, a pilot, co-pilot, and a flight engineer. It can carry anywhere from 24 to 30 troops, depending on which source you find. It can also carry a dozen medical stretchers, or it can carry about 8,800 pounds internally of cargo, or over 11,000 pounds externally. As I said, it can be configured as a gunship. It has these removable, optional stub wings that go on the sides with a total of 6 hardpoints. This one's equipped with rocket pods. Missiles can also be installed instead, or 23mm cannon pods. You can also install a couple of 7.62mm machine guns in the back for defense. It's a very versatile, very upgradable, very customizable helicopter. And these are still produced. This was originally designed at MIL, the Moscow Helicopter Design Bureau. It's also been produced in Russia at the Kazan Helicopter Factory. And they built over 12,000 to date, with orders still ongoing. They have done newer versions with updated avionics, a newer cockpit, so on and so forth. Notice this one has kind of the classic Russian military paint scheme with kind of a green top and more of a teal type bottom, like you find on Sukhoi fighters and others. It is primarily metal. The main body in it, all that is. Of course, our rotors are plastic, but do rotate. And while Witty is not really my first choice, I think with this one they did a really good job. Now the MI-8 MI-17 was one of their very last molds, and I think it shows. So why don't we look at a couple of features and then wrap things up. Alright, first up, this does come with crew figures. I am hoping you can see them. And it even comes with a way for them to get out. I just think this is kind of cool. The door on the side here slides open. It even has this little ladder that pegs in for them to use. Just kind of a neat little touch. You don't often see that. I think the only other plane I have that came with a little ladder was my Corgi Electric Lightning. Anyway, I just thought that was neat that the door is actually moving, and it is not like it's a, pegging open or close. It actually does slide, and it fits pretty dang tight too, which is pretty neat for diecast. Hopefully I'm getting it in frame, doing what I can do. But even neater, it has the clamshell doors. They are hinged. And what I really like about these, the doors are made of metal. And they have a ramp here. Try my best here. The ramp slides out the back. It does store up inside there. You just pull it out and it actually pivots down. So it's pretty well fully articulated and working cargo hold. Be even neater if it came with some cargo pads or soldiers, but hey, you know, I just think it's neat. These rocket pods are also removable, so if you want to go for more of the transport look, they just peg in 3 places on the side. You just pull them off, and there you have it. Also, it came with these 2 little things. You want to know what these are and where they go? I just noticed it before doing the video. I actually didn't realize they were in the box. Looks like they peg in somewhere also. This comes in a pretty nice box. It's foam with kind of a collector's card. As with most Witty, it does not come with a stand, but you can buy one for like $8. They're pretty good stands. The bottom is metal and it's held together with a screw. And the top, the stem is metal. Now this top bit is polymer with 3 sections, and it can be rotated, moved for display. The reason I don't have it on the stand for this video as usual, for some reason on this cake thing, it sits, the thing is slightly convex, and because this has a large foot and it's a tripod shape, it kind of wobbles. And the first time I tried, it fell over. So I thought, you know what, I'm just not going to risk damaging my model, since, like I said, these are out of production now. And we'll just do it on the ground. It does have landing gear, and the wheels even do rotate. It's a small thing, but you wouldn't believe how many of these diecast models the wheels don't move. And again, this is Witty. They're not as high-end as, say, Hobby Master. You know, this is about a $50 model. So, you know, you get what you get. But honestly, I've been very impressed by it. I'd love to have a Hind, but, you know, this does use a very similar engine, and it can be fitted with the same ordnance on the wings as the Hind, so it's got some Hind-esque aspects at least. Better than nothing. Maybe one day someone will do a Hind. But, yeah, pretty neat Russian helicopter, and a really neat model for display. I think there's also maybe a Polish version of this. I know there's a Slovakian search and rescue version. I think there's also a training version. They did a few different styles and paint schemes, but I wanted to go for the classic Red Army here, so that's what I did. So yeah, this is my single Russian helicopter. At least it's a pretty good one. And again, all the body, including the doors, are made of metal. Of course, things like the ramp and the little ladder are polymer, and the rocket pods that peg in are polymer, but what they peg into on the plane is metal. They fit a little loose, especially the one on the left, but they don't really fall off because they're at least pegged in 3 places. But if I were going to leave them on, I might put like just a tiny dab of glue. But I also kind of like the idea you can take them off and customize. So probably won't, just so I can do that. Holds a lot of rockets and stuff, though. It can carry about 3,300 pounds of ordnance. So as set up as a gunship or a missile ship or a rocket ship, it has some teeth to it. It really does. And of course these saw service in places like Afghanistan, and they've been used more recently by the Russian military in places like Syria. Well, anyway, appreciate you tuning in. If you could, like, share, and subscribe. And please feel free to comment below. I did my best to get some of this on camera for you. Hopefully that turned out. But yeah, this is one I've been excited to bring to you. Just think it's a neat design. Well, this is Misha. And I'll catch you very soon next time.